Mikey Riavik, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing excellent, Phil.
Man, it's so good to meet you. I have heard so much about you. So many people have been telling me, you got to get Mikey on the show. And it's coming to fruition here this morning.
Yeah, living the dream every day, another blessed day.
I know,
here,
right?
And yeah, just beautiful.
There is so much to get into. We've talked a little bit before we started this podcast, and you are a fascinating person. Not only are we going to get into fishing, not only are we going to get into the solo skip, not only are we going to get into how to catch calico bass and halibut, we're going to get into your philosophy of life, some medical problems that you've had, some things that you've done to overcome those medical problems. Man, this is going to be good stuff.
Exactly what life is all about. The real stuff of life through experiences in life.
And that journey, a big part of that journey and what life is all about and bringing you some sense of belonging and everything else. Fishing's been a big part of that, right?
Exactly. That's what it's taught me. That's why it's called fishing and not catching, because it's all that act of leading up to it and everything that goes in. Just like it's living life, not the final act of death. It's about fishing and everything, all the preparation, the dreaming, all the different people and the parts and the pieces to finally make it come together. There's so many parallels between fishing and life, and that's what it's taught me.
All right, let's start with Sandy SD Fish and Sips. I told some guy, he said, "What are you doing?" I go, I'm interviewing the guy, and he goes, "Oh, what is it, a bar or something? Fish and Sips?"
And that's how it started.
Oh, well,
originally
really?
It was, I went to San Diego State University, and of course that's a
party
big
school.
Party school, yeah. Studied civil engineering.
Once in a while, right? Mostly partying.
Playing ice hockey.
Oh, right on.
Going to school.
Big hockey fan right here.
Exactly. And then fell in love with the ocean too.
How did that happen?
I think it was the energy. It was the and the feel. It was a little bit. I grew up in San Francisco Bay Area, in the East Bay Area.
Do any fishing there when you were growing up?
Just a little tiny bit with my dad from the shore, and then a little bit at the reservoirs. But all I remember was catching kelp at the shore, and then my friend getting hooked at the reservoir. So I didn't really do much fishing at all. My dad wasn't a big fisherman or anything like that. But I started feeling the energy and just what going into the ocean and what all that can do for you, health wise, for your overall well-being. And I started to fall in love with the ocean. I could still play hockey and go to school down at San Diego State. So that's what I was doing, and then I was partying and I was drinking and having a good time and living life to the fullest.
In fact, it spiraled out of control, much the same as alcohol did with me, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was consuming a lot of my life, and it was an outlet and a stress. But at the same time, I found fishing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was about it, but I saw these guys and I heard about La Jolla kayak fishing, that you could launch a kayak from the shore and hook into big fish out in La Jolla. And it was right there in my backyard. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I had been working construction management on my way to be a project manager, and then I broke my leg, and I was at the beach skimboarding at Tamarack, and I snapped my leg, and I was out of work. And then when I came back, and I was getting ready back to work, that's when I picked up a kayak, and I bought a used 9-foot paddle kayak, and I just would go out to La Jolla every single day.
Really?
I would go down to the launch, because I'm big more onto doing it, going for it. And not as much as researching it online and reading a whole lot about it. I go out there.
Boy, I'll tell you, but that works. I mean, just in my life, I'm much older than you. I can tell you that my experience in university and in the classroom, as opposed to going out and traveling and doing stuff, man, you learn so much more.
Exactly.
And those lessons get burned even when you
through
screw up.
The experiences, because you're actually there experiencing
100%.
There, instead of just reading about it. And that's the main. Then the next level is the people that you meet.
Yes.
And then they see you out there on the water fishing. So one of the first guys I ran into was Yanni. Yanni is he's a fisherman's belly. And I remember meeting him. He goes, "My name's Yanni." That's John in Greek. I'm 100% Greek. My wife's 100% Greek. My kids are 100%.
No Greek jokes, whatever you do, right?
And I had a spinning reel from Walmart that I had picked up.
That's awesome.
And I was just fishing squid or something like that out there. He goes, go to Squid Co., get yourself a conventional reel, put braided line on it. In the summertime, we do something called fly lining with no weight, and try to get a yellowtail. And he kind of geared me on to yellowtail fishing and took me under his wing. So when I saw him a couple weeks later out there in La Jolla, I go, Yanni, check it out. I went to Squid Co. I got go, man, this kid actually listens. Now I'm just going to feed him all sorts of information.
Yeah. He could see you appreciate it and took his advice to heart.
And listen to him. And that's a big thing that I've learned through fishing is listening and observing and knowing that you can learn something from everybody.
Absolutely. Right?
Even if it's the wrong thing.
Absolutely. You can see people doing the wrong thing and say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to at least listen to people
Yes.
is a big one. And
Yeah,
so
heck yeah.
That was a good learning experience because he really helped me out a lot in those initial stages on getting me in the right direction as far as gear goes for kayak fishing in La Jolla. And then by the end of that summer, off of my little paddle kayak, I caught my first. I started in May or June is when I got that kayak, and then in August I got my first yellowtail there out in La Jolla. So
How was that experience? Man?
So I have my little 9-foot Cobra Explorer kayak. Then I had a milk crate on the back of it that I customized with PVC rod holders so that I could troll off of it. And then I had a bait tube so that I would go out and I'd catch mackerel with the sabiki at the edge of the kelp right after you get past the reserve line. Then I'd put them inside my bait tube, and then I'd go to the area and put one out on the slow troll. And I had hooked a yellowtail before out there, and I had my drag too tight, and I ended up busting it off and lost it. That day, some of my friends caught him and stuff like that. So when I hooked the second one, it was the first time where it was the fight back and forth, and it took I didn't know if it was going to stop, because it was just ripping line and taking the line.
Your heart is pumping.
Exactly, but that's also where you experience that flow state, where your heart's pumping, but you're so locked in because there's nothing else that's going on besides that reel screaming or when I saw that fish coming to color, and seeing that down in the deep pinwheel and that fish coming up.
Talk about being in the moment.
Exactly.
You are in the moment.
In the moment, locked in there, it's flow state, and it's just the next level. And it's one of those things where you really just got to experience for yourself to really understand everything that's going on. And you're locked in. So I gaffed it. It was smaller yellowtail, maybe like around 15 pounds or so.
That's a nice fish.
Beautiful fish. I was so stoked and brought it home, and then got to have I learned how to, looked up online how to fillet it myself and stuff like that, and then had a sushi party with my friends. And that also goes to show what I love so much about fishing is the full circle of things. I mean, you have that. I worked so hard dreaming up to try to get a yellowtail on the kayak on my own with the help of all the people and stuff like that, and sticking with it, going out there every day, and then getting to share the story with the people and then enjoy the catch and the meal.
You gotta love it. And it all started with Yanni and him being a good guy and instructing you. Yeah. Which it seems to me, now maybe I'm wrong here, but you looked at what Yanni did for you, and now you've got this YouTube channel where you're kind of doing that for example, if I want to get into kayaking, I can go to your channel and get that kind of advice from you and perhaps learn what I need to do to become successful. I think you learned that from Yanni and kind of are channeling him a little bit.
Yeah,
now.
I would say too, exactly. Or just seeing Yanni or all the other people and sharing, because we are all connected and in this together and helping people out. That's what I strive to do through my videos, is to help inspire people to get out there too, and go out there and fish, and then hopefully help them catch more fish too by showing them what I've done and what works and then what also doesn't work too, because I don't hold back, I don't only show the catching, and there's some of my videos where I'm not catching,
Yeah.
and people can learn some stuff from that too. So
I think it's so important. There's a guy who's a crew member, Scott Buchert, and actually you just made that catch in La Jolla a couple weeks ago, and a mutual friend of ours, Daryl.
Daryl Folger,
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He got in touch with me, but Scott Buchert, before any knowledge of any of this, he works on the Mission Bell, says to me, "You've got to get Mikey on from," and he's really courageous. He's really brave. He goes 30 miles out to sea and catches these big bluefin. And I'm going, man, I got to check this guy out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get too busy producing content.
That same thing with me, yeah.
I don't get a chance to see great people like you. And I'm so happy, Scott. This is the one time in my life that I'm in debt to you. Most of the time he drives me nuts. Kidding. He's a great guy. And man, so do you actually go really, really far offshore and try to catch tuna?
Oh yeah, when the conditions are right. That's what opened it up. So I was fishing on the kayak there from 2013 up until 2018. I made the progression. I started off on a 9-foot paddle kayak, then I got a 13-foot paddle kayak, then I got a 14-foot paddle kayak, and my bread and my butter was La Jolla yellowtail.
Yeah.
And it was fly lining, big greenback mackerel there at the edge of the kelp for La Jolla. And I've gotten them every month out of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
That
January, fly lining a big mackerel out back and just getting crushed by and the ultimate, because on the kayak or the solo skiff, is the sleigh ride.
Oh my God!
When you're
explain to everybody what
we're
talking about. So the sleigh
ride, and so when you're slow trolling a bait or even a lure, whatever, then all of a sudden the yellowtail, when they hit a bait, it's like a freight train.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll have your clicker on. It's just ripping line. Then finally you click it into gear, and that fish just starts ripping line, and it starts spinning you around whatever direction that it's going, and then it starts towing you through the water and towing you through the water. You're just hanging on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really, and that's what turned me on so much. Once I started getting those sleigh rides and hooking into yellowtail and La Jolla on the kayak, that's where it's like, I want to catch big. I love all different kinds of fishing.
Yes.
But that's where it's like,
those big forkies.
I want to go for the big fish, the big forkies and the big fish. But the kayak was limited to maybe that 3 to 5 mile range. Now, 2015, that was, I think, the last real strong El Nino year. And I went out I still have my paddle kayak, and I went out in August. I think it was 79 degrees, the water temperature.
So there's dorado and all those species
around. And I
around.
went out there in the New Seaforth. A lot of the times, or not a lot of times, but a handful of times I'd be out there fishing and New Seaforth would be done for their day.
Yeah.
They would dump the slammer of all their bait and take off. And then I would go troll through that zone. So I had gone offshore earlier in the day outside of Scripps Pier, maybe like 5 miles looking for bluefin, because somebody had caught one in La Jolla kelp that year on around 4th of July time.
A bluefin?
A bluefin, yeah. And so I knew that there was a lot of fish in that area. And I went offshore, came back in northwest corner. I got a yellowtail after they dumped their slammer, the New Seaforth. Then I was coming back in, and in front of the condo, 100 feet of water, threw my last bait out, hook into something, and this is when I was still in my full drinking mode, SD Fish and Sips. I had a Modelo there on the top. I hooked into that fish. I cracked open the Modelo, and I was drinking the beer as I was fighting the fish.
That's great.
And then I brought it to color at the side, and I see that purple top. It was like, because it was more in the evening time.
Right.
I think the dorado will kind of shine different colors depending on what type of day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it was really this like purple orb there. And I was like, no freaking way, it was a dorado.
Oh my God.
I gaffed it and brought it in my lap. The night before, my friend's mom had given me a compassion club that she had made for me. She said, use this club to whack the fish in the head to dispatch of them nicely. So I started Wow, and I got on my GoPro. This is when I was first starting my filming my stuff, and I got this big old grin on my face, and I'm whacking this dorado. Next thing I know, the thing jumps out of my lap.
Oh.
Back into the water. I'm struggling to get my gear back. Then it starts getting airborne. I always remember it was airborne, just shaking its head with the condo in La Jolla in the background.
Wow.
But I ended up getting it a second time, and I secured that fish.
Wow.
That was in 2015 August. Then December in 2015, I caught my first white sea bass out there in La Jolla.
Before we get to the sleigh ride, how far do these things drag you?
It depends on the fish.
What's like the farthest you had a yellowtail or some fish drag?
Well, I'll tell you this. My friends, they hooked into thresher sharks. The threshers came through. So you sleigh ride on a thresher shark.
Oh my God.
Then you're talking about miles.
Yes.
Typically with like a La Jolla yellow, because they're going to mostly go down and try to get, or when the kelp was thicker, they're real smart and they'll go right into the kelp.
To wrap you up in the kelp.
And wrap you up in the kelp. But now, I would say the yellowtail, the sleigh ride is only going to be maybe like a quarter mile or like a half mile, whereas the thresher shark, that could take you miles.
And I imagine a big bluefin, same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The bluefin, that's kind of the ultimate sleigh ride. And that's what I always have my dreams of catching a bluefin on. The kayak is how it started.
Yeah.
But then once in 2018 is when I got the solo skiff. And then it turned into I want to get the tuna on the solo skiff.
Yeah.
And that was my main focus. But I had to learn how to catch tuna on boats and a lot of those techniques first.
So you went on the sport boats?
Exactly.
Smart.
So in 2020 or 2018, I picked up the solo skiff. But also in 2018, I came across health issues.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so in 2018, I wasn't in a good space and right mindset, wasn't taking care of myself.
So your alcoholism, probably eating poorly.
Eating poorly, and then just stress. I mean, a lot of it is up here. Mental stresses.
Absolutely.
And I lost my mom to pancreatic cancer.
I'm so sorry.
And there's the stress from that, and I just wasn't. I was running into issues. I was working full-time construction management, project management, just fishing on the weekends. I was a weekend warrior. So stress is just combination of everything.
And you convince yourself, at least I did, I'll see if you were the same, that I am so stressed out, I deserve that shot of tequila. I need that. This is what relieves my stress. This is going to make everything better.
Yeah.
And it does for about 2 hours, and then everything is worse.
And then it just gets worse. Exactly.
And it gets worse and worse and worse.
It's a temporary escape.
Correct.
It's just something temporary where I needed something
that was going to last.
That was going to
100%.
last. A life-changing lifestyle.
So you have all these stresses, and you're turning to alcohol, and so what happens?
And I'm not listening to my body.
Yeah.
I mean, my body's telling me different stuff, and it wasn't until finally that my body told me I'd seen blood in my urine.
Yeah.
And then with my own eyes on the screen, I seen a tumor inside my bladder.
You mean the doctor did a CT scan or something?
First they did a CT scan.
Yeah.
And they didn't see, they told me I had a kidney stone from the blood. It wasn't a kidney stone, it was a mass inside my bladder. So he said, let's go up there and take a look. So they put a camera up inside of me, and I seen it with my own eyes.
And
they
shocking?
Told me,
were you
scared? It was almost, I wouldn't say scared as much as it was almost I was disappointed in myself.
Because you felt like your lifestyle?
I held myself accountable for that.
Okay.
This wasn't something
that just happened.
That just happened, or from an outside source.
Yeah.
This was something that created from within inside.
With your lifestyle.
With my lifestyle and my mind, body, and spirit. Created this.
Yes.
And it created, and I held myself accountable, but I also held myself accountable that I can make myself better.
Wonderful.
And that's where from that moment I set out on a journey to heal myself, mind, body, and spirit.
You started doing research on
other stories.
Yeah.
I started researching other stories of people that had overcome health issues and the practices and the techniques, and all this stuff is all practices. You have all these different tools, and what I learned is that cancer is a metabolic disease. is different in every single person, and that's why the cure or the treatment needs to be different for every person.
Yeah.
And the only person that truly knows it is you.
Yeah.
And so I started reading about and talking to people also, and learning about my body and listening to my body, and meditation and breath work is a huge part of it for me to go inside my body, and that's also helped with my focus, and then transferred into my fishing and all of my life and my overall health and well-being. Yeah.
So what changes did you make? You made lifestyle changes, dietary changes?
The immediate one that I made was, as far as diet goes for my body, I cut out sugar, was the number one. That's what feed cancer the most.
Sugar is very evil.
It's evil, really and it's really hard unless to
get off it.
Yeah, because they put sugar in everything, and then they also with labeling, it's a tricky game that's played.
Oh yeah,
with sugar, and to get off it, because I was hooked on Sugar Fiend too. Because when I was a little kid, I wanted a year's supply of ice cream.
Oh my God! You thought you hit the jackpot.
Right?
It totally screwed you up.
I'm there in the store as a little kid with my mom. They have
could you go get an ice cream whenever you want?
And then all of a sudden, you never get anything in the mail when you're a little kid.
Yeah.
And I get a thing from Dryer's Ice. Congratulations. Here's 100 free half gallons of ice cream.
Oh my God.
So every week, go to the grocery store with my mom, pick out 2 half gallons, give myself some Rocky Road or some mint chocolate chip, cookies.
You were in
and
heaven.
cream. Oh yeah, I was in heaven, but I also got I got hooked on.
You got hooked.
Yeah, I got hooked on sugar.
And there's no doubt that you can get hooked on sugar like you can on drugs or alcohol or anything else.
Yeah.
Yep, I know that very well.
Exactly. So yeah, I was hooked on sugar, hooked on alcohol. So the first thing that I cut out was sugar and alcohol. Those were the very first.
Yeah, because
2
alcohol
ones.
converts to sugar, so you got to get rid of that too, right?
Exactly, and then it was also just the alcohol, what it was doing to all the other aspects of my life too.
Yes.
So yeah, just cut out those 2, and then focused on a lot of exercise and movement. And reading a lot of books on stories on people, and then also on different mindsets. Stoicism is a big mindset with focus only on what you can control, and
That's
when you
right.
are focused on something.
Marcus Aurelius. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and focus 100% just on that one thing that's going on, and
right.
And that's really a lot of this stuff that's taught me is focus and energies. That's what a lot of the stuff too with that I learned about is different sort of energies, and with the health stuff. So and that's where I tie into the spiritual side of things.
Yes.
So my approach treatment was mind, body, spirit.
Great.
And that mind is reading and learning stuff, from people. And also the meditation ties in that, body. You have that with the meditation, the breath work and stuff like that, but the exercise and nutrition.
Yeah.
And then spirit, that's the energy side of things. And then also the people and the places and the experiences, and that was a big part of fishing for me, was that energy and spiritual side of things.
That's what I want to work back in here. Before I do, however, how's your health now? Are you doing good?
Look at me. I'm in the best health of my life.
Great, man.
How old are you? I'm 39. I'm going to be turning 40.
You look like you're in your 20s, dude.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Somebody told me the other day I didn't look a day over 100. I took that like a great compliment. You look great, man.
Thank you.
So your health is good?
And that was it was the reality check and wake-up call that I needed. And I wouldn't be here where I'm at today if it wasn't for that.
And also, what led you to that was these medical problems you were having and all the stress and everything else. But I think you'd be the first one to look out there and tell everybody, you should do this without health problems. You should focus on your spiritual life and focus on your health, right? And because it only makes you a better person. It makes you enjoy life.
Exactly. That's what you enjoy life and just going through life if you're in better overall health and well-being.
Yeah.
And
this is where a lot of people out there. My wife's one of them too. She doesn't get fishing. She doesn't want anything to do with it. It's actually good. You know, I like that. I got my thing. You know, but a lot of people is you put a bait on a hook and you catch a dumb fish, and what's the big deal? But you are telling me this fits into this whole new philosophy of life that you have. That fishing actually is an integral part of this whole thing that you've discovered to make your life better.
100%.
How so? How so?
Because it corresponds so closely to life, you know, fishing and to life. Like I think I was saying before, you know, it's not that end result that really matters. It's everything that leads up to it. And, you know, just from the journey of life and through all those experiences and, you know, dreaming big and whatever it's going to be and accomplishing those dreams, what it's really about is the person that you become.
Yes.
In pursuit of
Yes.
all that stuff. And that's where it's hard to sometimes to put into words, and that's what also fishing has taught me, is that there's certain things in life they can't be explained, they can only be experienced.
Yes.
And there's other energies they can't be measured, they can only be felt.
Yes.
You know, and that's just something that comes with time through experiencing life. And you've been through more experiences than me, so you know a lot of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you've experienced it firsthand. But yeah, fishing has just taught me so much about life, because it's about that act of just getting out there. And that's what I do. I dream up this stuff and I go out there and go out fishing. Whatever happens after that is all a bonus. You know,
Yes.
all those fish that I get to catch and share with people is just all a bonus, you know, and I don't have any expectation. Of course, I'm going to prepare myself and set myself up to be the most successful and dream the biggest stuff, but I don't have an expectation that all those dreams are good, because a lot of times your dreams are met in bigger and better ways than you ever even imagined.
Of course, yeah.
Just like when you give unconditionally and don't expect anything in return, you normally get a lot back more
100%.
than you receive. So
It's all about this journey for you, isn't it? And
that's
you
yes.
apply it to life. It's the learning. It's the meeting of the people. It's trying to accomplish a goal. It's succeeding in accomplishing the goal. It's sometimes failing at accomplishing the goal. But that's all a part of your philosophy of life, right?
And then exactly, and then reflecting on it also too afterwards, and reflecting on it, and then because life also is like the seasons too. You know, you got the winter time, the cold, dark, hard winters that you got to make it through. Then you got the springtime comes along. That's the time for opportunity, a lot of stuff. Then you got the summer, and you got to watch after all of your crops, everything that you got going, because the pests are going to try to get it. And then fall time comes along. That's my favorite time of the year. Is the fall.
Yeah.
And that's where you reap what you sow.
Yep.
And you reap without complaint, you know, and without apology, and you just are happy with what you got. And gratitude, because that's the other big part of life is gratitude. And it's one of those things where, unless you experience of giving gratitude and then receiving back, it's kind of hard to put it into words, you know, what the power of gratitude has done for me, and just being grateful and giving also. And that's what I tell people. The easiest thing for me to give is to give a smile and to give thanks, you know, and and they come back to you a lot.
Yes.
After that.
Mother Teresa, that was one of her famous sayings, that, hey, even if you're dirt poor, you can give a smile to somebody. Yep. You can lend a hand to somebody.
And it's a universal language. That's
totally.
Also the thing that fishing is so cool, and so, to me, is that it's a universal language. I can go anywhere in the world and fish with these guys. I went to Portugal when I visited. My little brother was teaching English over in Spain.
Yeah.
So I went to Spain. In Spain, it was cool, but there's more museums and a little bit more landlocked. Then I got over to Portugal, and I don't know, have you ever been to Portugal?
I have.
Yeah, so I was going to originally go down to the Algarve, And then I ran, he goes, check out Ericeira. It's a World Surf Reserve. So I went there, and then every day I would go in and try to get on a fishing boat to go out there. And I had all my own gear and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then finally I got on the boat, this little wooden boat that they dragged with the tractor across and launched it in the water. And I didn't speak any Portuguese. The only thing I knew how to say in Portuguese was bom dia, which is good morning. And I would walk around the beaches, bom dia to all of them, and give them a smile, and say good morning. And people were just so odd. They would light up with a big smile.
Because you're trying to learn their language.
Yeah, and the captain came by in the morning, and I said bom dia, and then he started talking. Papu was his name, But we went out there, and we fished all together, and we caught fish,
And you feel that brotherhood of fishermen.
You feel that brotherhood.
You do, right?
And you realize how we are all connected and in this world together,
100%. You brought up like Portugal, so I know you've made some trips to Mexico. I love Mexico. I love the culture, the people, the food. There's not much I don't like about Mexico. How was your first experience in Mexico?
Yeah, I was going to say.
And were you told, hey, you're going to get your head cut off if you go down there. Be careful, Oh, you got all that there?
Yeah, you always get that, but you learn in life, you listen to everybody because they got their own experiences too.
Right.
But then you also
the guy that told you got his head cut off before, so I know what you're talking about.
But then you also prepare yourself and you do your research to set yourself up to be safe. And also going with people that have done it before and using their experience. So I was lucky
You're way better prepared than I ever have, and I just start going. Well, that's good.
But no, there was Big Water's Edge was a big online community for kayak fishermen in San Diego.
Yeah.
And it was really popular in like 2000 when I first started kayak fishing back in 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
So April 2014, I picked up my 13-foot paddle kayak, and Mako Bob, from rest in peace, he's since passed away, but he put together a kayak trip to go down to Gonzaga Bay. That was in April of 2014.
Changed your life.
It really did change my life. And that was just, I got my first little taste of Baja on that trip. Mostly triggerfish and Sierra and some sculpin, but I didn't get on any yellowtail or any of the other fish. Another guy had caught a really nice white sea bass. That was the first time that I seen a white sea bass there.
Yeah.
But that started my Baja adventures, and then I didn't get down there again with the kayak. Then right after I got the solo skiff, because Mako Bob also turned me on to solo skiff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
let's talk about what is. Some people out there may not know what the solo skiff is.
Solo skiff is a fishing kayak on steroids.
Uh-huh.
It's got a transom mount. It's plastic, foam coated plastic with foam on the inside, and it's got a transom on the back that houses a 6 horsepower gas motor.
Oh, that's nice.
Real nice. So now instead of paddling, maybe 3 miles an hour, fire that thing up and you're going 12 to 15 miles an hour.
Wow.
And instead of having that range of, a couple miles from the shore, now it's opened up that range to go and opened up that the fishing for tuna or those offshore species, and opened up high speed trolling techniques and different techniques too. Yeah. So that was Mako Bob was the one who first turned me on to that. But they were they're made out in Florida. Uh-huh. And Jacksonville, Florida is where the founder was from. Yes. So I picked mine up in 2020, then 2018. Same time I came across the health issues. Yes. 2019, I used that to work on myself, focus on myself, and becoming a better, healthier, stronger, well-being person. Then 2020, COVID comes along. And right around that same time also, a friend of mine, he said, hey, I heard you want to catch a salmon on the solo skiff. I've caught salmon out of Santa Cruz, out of Half Moon Bay, and out of Shelter Cove in Northern California. Yeah. So that was a challenge to me. These people were feeding the information to me. They saw what I wanted to do, And then now that motivated me that, they're also helping me out. So
I got to do this.
I got to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it.
Yeah,
So my mission was,
on.
my birthday's in May. May 16th is my birthday. And this was at the beginning of May. That's when they opened up the salmon season. And so I was down here. And just before that, there was a really strong red tide out in off of San Diego. And I had always heard about the 9 Mile bank and fishing at the 9 Mile bank. And I was thinking that'd be the perfect spot to take the solo skiff out to. So I went out to and that was the first time that I kind of took it. It's 12 miles to get from San Diego Bay out to the 9 Mile bank. I think this was on Cinco de Mayo of 2020. And it was real strong red tide, but I go out to the 9 Mile bank and I was trolling the red tide where it changed the color difference. Where
it cleaned up? And
where it cleaned up.
That's a smart idea.
Exactly.
And I come in there and bump into that and
exactly.
hang in that clean water side, yeah.
So I was trolling my Nomad DTX minnow, 25-foot diving lure, and I hooked up and caught a nice, maybe like 8-pound bonito or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was stoked on that.
Fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I got him on the troll on that lure. I hadn't really used that before on the kayak.
Yeah.
And I was stoked on that. And then as I'm coming in back off from the 9 Mile, halfway between San Diego and the 9 Mile, all of a sudden the birds just start blowing up and grow, and the bonito are just full-on body jumpers out of the water and everything. So I take my Colt Sniper and I throw that out there and I hook a bonito underneath the birds on the troll.
How awesome.
And then that was that video, I filmed it all on my GoPro. But the night before, I was in my garage. Here's my maps. Here's the 9 Mile bank that I want to go to. Here's my rig, my jig stick with the Colt Sniper on it. Here's my trolling setup.
Perfect.
And I filmed all of that, and then I was talking, tuna 2020. I had my little catch sayings, and was doing all that in the garage. Went out there, caught those fish, and then put the video together. And prior to that, all my YouTube videos were 5 minutes of me cranking on a La Jolla Yellowtail, getting a sleigh ride with copyrighted music in the background. Maybe a 5-minute long video. This one, 20-minute long video.
Yes.
5-minute intro of me in the garage, talking. I'm talking
These things
about
evolve, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, that video is getting a bunch of views.
Right.
And I'm gaining a bunch of subscribers.
Right.
And I learned that people are tuning into YouTube for value.
Yes.
It's not for entertainment. Everyone's seen somebody cranking on a big fish
100%.
or holding a photo of that fish.
Yes.
They wanted what's more valuable is how
do you do this?
Yep.
Yes.
And everything that leads up to it.
Yes.
That's why I might have a video that does better performing with not catching a fish, but gives you all the info leading up to it than one where it's just catching the fish.
100%.
So I learned that that was a good eye opener for the style how to be successful on YouTube. And then I was also replying to comments and talking with people and engaging with my audience, and then
that's a lot of freaking work too.
Yeah, no, and that's what I feel bad. I apologize to everybody out there. My main communication is during my premieres. I've been trying to do 3 to 4 videos a week.
Yeah.
With my adventures, and I'm usually premiering them at 9 p.m. on my channel, SD Fish and Sips, on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'll watch the premieres with everybody.
Right. I try to do that.
It's so fun because you have your little Discord chat group,
right.
And then people chime in too. Hey, Mikey, come up here and go fishing me with this or or have you done that? Or I just caught this fish here, and it's really cool to have that that community group. And I saw that going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And this was all when I was making my trip, and I stayed up because I was born and raised in the East Bay area up there, and I stayed at my parents' house, and then I was going to these different areas to try to learn how to get salmon fishing. And I went out of Moss Landing, and that's where the Fish and Game, they checked my license because they rolled up to me on the solo skiff. I'm out there, and they hadn't seen it before. They go, oh, what's going on with this? And they were checking out a solo skiff, and I gave them a sticker for the channel and everything like that. And then they let me go. So I fished out of Moss Landing. Then I went to Shelter Cove for the first time. And I don't know if you ever heard about Shelter Cove. It's up on the Lost Coast of California.
No.
So this is still like a 3-hour drive from San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
To get up there. And then you go
North.
off the one north. So
Yeah.
Humboldt, the giant coastal
Yeah,
redwoods.
right.
So you drive through the redwood
How
forest.
beautiful, man.
It's like a little
Spectacular.
Alaska up
Yeah.
there. And it's mind-blowing. Just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
The first time I went there, I only had a short window in the morning time to fish. But I caught myself a nice big lingcod up there and a bunch of rockfish. I didn't hook into any salmon. And then I met a guy at the launch and he told me about some different techniques to use with this deep six diver planer to get it down. Then when the weather cleared up, I went back out there and a friend of mine that was telling me about how to get the salmon, he told me this area called Tolo Bank, which is a little area down to the south. So I went out there and I seen Eric. He runs a kayak guide service up there in catching salmon, king salmon from the kayak out of Shelter Cove.
How bitchin'.
And I had slept in my truck the night before. I fished in the evening, slept in my truck at the landing, and then Eric's setting up his gear as he already sees me down there and everything like that. I get out of my truck and I'm talking with him and I asked him, do you use sardine or herring for bait? Because you have the option of they troll a lot of dead baits up there.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it just kind of depends on what my bait guy gives me, but usually it's herring. I decided to use the herring, and then I went there and trolled the Tolo Bank. I was the only person out there and hooked into and landed a nice 20-pound king salmon off the solo skiff.
How thrilling.
It's hard to describe how special that was, especially to do it on my birthday. But what
nice.
I'll always remember...
May 16th.
Yeah, May 16th.
3 days before my wife. I can't forget that.
Right on. But it was, I was dreaming of catching that fish, and a lot of the times, you'll see the vision. You try to dream it up by visualizing this stuff. But I feel like the next level is to try to feel it.
Yeah.
And get that energy and emotion behind it.
Yes.
So before doing it, I remembered trying to feel what it would be like afterwards when I'm sitting at the dinner table at the house I grew up with my family, eating that salmon with them, sharing the stories, showing them the videos and everything like that. And next thing you know, that's what I was doing. I remember,
incredible.
That was really where that trip and catching that salmon would really open me up to the possibilities, that whole experience of dreaming up something, and then all that work that you put in, all those people that help, and then making those dreams come true and reflecting on it afterwards.
Well, just spending this little bit of time with you, I can see why not only you've been successful in this so far, but I don't see an end to it for you because you're such a genuinely nice person.
And that means the world to me to have the comments like that, because all the fish are going to come, all the viewers, subscribers, all views will all come as long as I'm just living an honest, true life.
Man, I love you.
So,
man, you're awesome.
Thank you.
You're awesome. You're an inspiration.
I'm trying to get that with the channel. I want to help other people out, get out there fishing, and spread that with the channel, and also spread that with. That's why I got California Skiffs, and the company that I'm selling the solo skiffs.
Oh,
now.
So you sell the skiffs?
I do sell the skiffs.
Great.
I'm California dealer for solo skiffs.
Yeah.
And I have brand new solo skiff hulls, and then I sell just the hull. But I'm there to coach you all along the way.
Beautiful.
From the get-go, picking out the right type of motor, all the rigging, all the electronics, and I'll be there to coach you insider knowledge on fishing, all these different spots and techniques.
Oh, man.
And it's not just San Diego.
Right.
I've taken the solo skiff down to. I was in Loretto.
Oh shoot! One of my favorite parts of Baja. I love Loretto.
Yeah. So
isn't it beautiful?
I absolutely like
because it's that sense of that small Mexican town kind of still, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Loretto. So my first spot was Gonzaga Bay.
Yeah.
Then and then 2020 was that whole salmon adventure.
Yeah.
Then
these are the highlights of your year.
These are the highlights of the year. But then right after the salmon is when I got laid off from my job. And then that's when I said, you know what? If there's ever a time to go all in on fishing,
Now's it.
now is it.
Yeah.
I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to make money doing this.
Right.
But I'm going to keep the dream alive.
Yeah. Good for you.
Because I was building momentum on my YouTube channel,
Yes.
And I saw the interactions with the people, and I knew that I had a good thing, and I could build that.
Yes.
And get better with doing that. And then I knew there's other avenues too. There is, working out. My friend hit me up. Hey, what do you think about commercial fishing?
Yeah.
There's the sport boats option. There's
Right.
a lot of the industry is huge. So I knew that there would be some different options, but I'm going to go all in on fishing.
Yes.
So then in September, October of that year of 2020, my aunt has a house in Rogue River, Oregon.
Yes.
Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
So what did I do? Loaded up the solo skiff in the back of the
We're
truck.
going to the Rogue River, baby.
Looked up about combat fishing at the base of the Rogue River.
Right.
And everybody's trolling that same zone.
Yeah.
I went in there with the solo skiff. Nobody's seen it before. They got the the charter boats taking people out, all the locals there. 3 days in a row, I'm sitting there with my herring, trolling with all the same rigs, watching other people hook up. Finally, after the rain comes in on the third day, it shuts us down. This guy, Bob McRoberts, walks up. Hey, can I sit down and talk? He's been fishing that place forever.
Yeah.
Helped me out, told me I was on the right path, but then he also said, hey, this kid that's been catching fish is buying his bait from not at the tackle shop, but at this grocery store. So I went to the grocery store, bought bait at a different spot, launched out a different area the next day. Then I see him on the river. Oh, this is the best day been yet. Next thing I know, I hooked into nice king salmon up there on the Rogue River in front of, and that thing towed me around all over because you're real tight quarters.
Yeah.
And I got it all on my GoPro, and because I hook into it, and the one guy's like, "Oh, the kayak's on him, and then I'm backing down. I got the motor going. Oh, you're gonna back into the boat. I gotta flip it into gear and move it around, and then I get my net out. I have another GoPro. Oh, he's got the GoPro on the net, and then I netted the salmon, but instead of lifting the handle and pulling it the right way, pulled it like this. Thing breaks my net, the salmon does, but I get it in, and then everyone starts cheering. I'm just going crazy in the celebration.
That's freaking awesome.
And still, that's what's so cool is capturing the stuff with the GoPro is I can still watch that clip now and relive those moments, and then share it with everybody too, because that's what's so cool is getting to share this stuff with everybody by documenting it in the video. So that was in 2020 in October. Then 2021, everyone's, oh, you're taking the solo skiff everywhere. You should get sponsored by Solo Skiff. And another one of my friends, he started me up with a business for nuisance wildlife trapping. That's how I also try to make money. Is I have a trapping business for raccoons, skunks, and possums. And he had his friend out in Florida that could train me in the nuisance wildlife trapping. I had an uncle in Florida, and the solo skiff guy was out in Florida. So what am I going to do? Load my solo skiff into the back of my truck and drive it out to Florida.
And you did that?
I did that.
Oh,
that was in
God,
February of 2021.
How was that? Another adventure.
Before I seen some guys on TikTok on a jet ski catching giant snapper at the oil rigs. I want to do that. So I go.
How far are those rigs offshore?
They're only 6 or 7 miles, perfect for the solo skiff.
Almost these. Yeah.
But I'm tracking the weather, and the wind's blowing every day, and that's the main thing with the solo skiff. It doesn't do good in the wind.
Yeah.
So because I just get beat down. So tracking the weather every day, and then until I see a good window, and this was right around the Super Bowl time. I load up my gear Super Bowl Sunday, get out there. This was before the big freeze. I fished the calm before the storm when they had that big freeze in 2021 and froze all the pipes in Texas.
Yeah. Oh,
Sheet glass all day long.
And no people because they're watching the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And I went out there and I fished the oil rigs, and I got out there and I was fishing a flat fall with some shrimp and some squid on each assist hook. Freaking pulled up monster redfish.
How freaking cool is that?
With the oil rig in the background, it was just mind-blowing.
Wow.
It's so cool.
And these videos are on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, they're on my YouTube channel.
Wow.
So you can check out some. So I went through Texas, Then I went through Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana.
Really?
I went down, because everyone's like, oh, you can go for wahoo down off of Louisiana.
Yep.
Well, yeah, the wahoo are 60 miles offshore, and all the boats have 3 motors on them.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not making that happen on the solo skiff, but I learned about the intercoastal fishery out there. And
Which
the
is probably
East Coast,
great, right?
That's what the solo skiff was designed for, was
Right.
the intercoastal. So I got to cruise around, but that was the same thing. I go in to get my license at the little tackle shop, liquor store, sandwich shop, and I
Yeah.
get myself a shrimp po' boy. And you got one of the local guys drinking a tall can out front, and start talking with him. And he's talking about trapping nutria, the giant swamp rats out there. You
Yeah.
go, oh, I know, I'm friends with the real swamp people. You can come hang out with me. And then the lady's talking about, oh, watch out for all the gators with that little boat that you got.
Oh, yeah, right.
But it was just the people, that whole experience going through there.
Sure.
And then I got into Florida and I stayed in Orlando, did some training for wildlife trapping. Then I hit up Solo Skiff, Tom, the founder and the creator of the Solo Skiff. And he goes, if you come all the way out to Florida, we got to go down to the Keys. Go down to the Florida Keys. So I loaded up the Solo Skiff, met him down in Cudjoe Key. We went out on the Solo Skiffs together, and I got to hear his whole story.
Nice.
He showed me his little model creation of when he first created this Solo Skiff. And that's where we really developed the bond and the friendship and the trust, so that when he got back into production this last year, he was, hey, I'm looking for a California dealer. Do you know anybody? Yeah, I'm your guy.
Oh, perfect.
Exactly.
Worked out
all the
great.
pieces of the puzzle
Started to come together.
Started to come together because I also had help from Baja. I was going down there. That was in 2021. So I did that trip with the Solo Skiff stuff. Then I come back and I'm fishing La Jolla and I see an advertisement. They said, hey, do you like fishing and video? We're looking for people to go on the sport boats and shoot video on the sport boats. So I started going and I started off with, I know you're friends with him, Bill. Captain Bill Wilkerson,
Yes,
Malahini.
yeah, right.
Yeah, shout out to Captain Bill.
Absolutely.
He took me, I started off on a full day on Malahini, and we caught some early season small bluefin on the troll. I think that was in May, and then went to the islands, got on some yellowtail down at the Coronado Islands, had a good time down there with him.
That's bitchin'.
And then I got on overnight trip on the Mustang. And with Captain Steve on the Mustang out of Fisherman's Landing, and I hadn't caught any big bluefin. We had gone on a company trip with Daryl, was always on that company trip.
Oh, okay.
And we were I caught some smaller bluefin and some yellowfin, but I'd never seen or caught the big bluefin.
Yeah.
And that night in that video, same thing as with I did the video before. I brought a wireless mic and a little handheld thing, and I put the mic on Captain Steve during his seminar. And while he did his whole seminar, and he gave a great, because he's pretty hard, not hard on the crew, but he's very blunt about stuff.
Right.
And he said, which
is kind of good, right?
It's good, yeah, and that's what everyone liked. He
Right.
said, take your biggest rod and your biggest reel, and you're fishing that one setup, because we're going after big fish.
And don't fish that light stuff, or
And
we'll throw it
I better not
overboard.
see any spinning setups over here. Exactly.
Guy with the spinning set. I was like, oh my God.
But we have setups here on the boat.
Perfect.
We'll use.
Exactly.
And you got to always listen to the captain, and that's where I learned. So I filmed that whole thing, and then we got on that night. We only got 2 fish, but they were around 150 pounds, big ones.
Yeah.
But they were foaming and breezing in the distance. And I flew my drone and got drone shots of it.
How bitchin'.
And that video went viral because everyone loved having the seminar in the
Right.
video.
They're learning something again.
They're learning something, exactly. And so I got on that trip, and then I went on Sea Adventure 80 with Captain Mike McDaniels.
Right.
You know Captain Mike,
Yeah, I
right?
do. Yeah,
exactly. So I love fishing with Captain Mike on that boat. The first trip I went on, the winds were howling and blowing. And I had gone on 2 trips on the Mustang, and I was doing a lot of filming and learning, so I didn't even hook into any fish.
Yeah, right.
On
You're
those
working on
trips.
it.
I was working on it.
Right.
And then I went on Sea Adventure 80, and I had a better kind of mindset and understanding. But the first trip, it was like 30-mile-an-hour winds and 7 or 8 foot seas. It was just gnarly.
Nasty.
And I lucky to get a yellowtail, one of the few ones, and just catching bonito. Then about a week later, I go on a trip. We left on Friday evening, and it was just right trip at the right time. And finally, in the morning time, I hooked one on the sinker rig, down deep on the sand. I was on an Avid LX 2-speed Shimano Torres rod, fighting it for a while, get it up to the bow. All of a sudden, I pull up a dozen lines, all tangled along on my line.
Oh my God!
Captain Mike comes over, has me put my rod on his shoulder, and he's trying to undo all the tangles, and it's just a giant mess. I end up losing that.
Oh,
fish.
heartbreak!
Yep, heartbreak. Yeah. Then about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and they had let me go up into the wheelhouse to see all the instruments, and do some filming. And I'm up there in the wheelhouse. Huge wedge on the whole screen just lights up red. Huge wedge, drop your jigs down there. I started casting I think it was 150-gram Colt Sniper, the pink and the blue, the Katy Perry one off the bow. And I had hooked onto one, and then it popped off, and then another lady next to me hooked one on like a spinner.
Oh shoot!
Her reel ended up just like exploding and like breaking on that.
Poor woman.
I went down to the back, to the stern, dropped straight down, keep dropping. All of a sudden, a little tap, boom, take a couple cranks. I'm on. Bringing that fish, like 70-pounder, and that was my biggest bluefin.
That's beautiful.
And I was just beyond stoked.
That's beautiful.
What do I do now? Well, check your line, make sure that it's not sawed off or anything, doesn't have abrasion. Retie if you have to, and drop back down. The fish are here.
Yeah.
What do? I go right back, drop back down, tap, boom, hook up again. And they got back-to-back limits. The first one was 70-pounder. The second one was 110.
Woo! Nice. How bitchin' is that?
It was so awesome.
Oh, my God.
It was so cool. And that was I think it was late June or something like that. And then at the same time, as I was doing all the sport boats, I was also commercial fishing on my friend Shane Seafood. He's down in San Diego. Yeah. And he goes down to Tuna Harbor Dockside Market every Saturday.
Oh, okay.
He's selling fish down there.
What's he fishing commercially?
He does a lot of it is mackerel, both types of Spanish and Pacific greenback mackerel. Then he does yellowtail, also slope rockfish and whitefish, so ground fish. And then when they're in season,
Swordfish?
Tuna. No, he hasn't done any swordfish because he had a Grady White. Now he has a Ponga. He's on a smaller skiff. But he goes down there and sells it. So I was fishing with him during the weekdays and then helping him sell on Saturday and getting the experience.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's where it was. I got the experience and got the feel of the sport boat, because that's a whole thing in itself.
Yes.
Then I was
different experience.
Yep. And then I was fishing on the solo skiff doing that. And then got to do the skiff and the commercial fishing, and then also see that whole industry down at the docks making the sales, the guys that have been doing it for a while, you know, that have been down there, and just to get the feel of it,
Oh, God, yes.
And that was such a great experience, and we caught a lot of good fish. Shane put me on a lot of good fish. We got a thresher shark there in May or June, and then all of a sudden the bluefin came in close to La Jolla.
Yeah.
And one day we were out there, and it was so cool because we caught mackerel first thing in the morning. Then all of a sudden we got on a barracuda surface iron bite.
Wow.
And we were loading up on barracuda on the surface iron, and then it's like, okay, our gas is paid for now. Now we're going to go out and like off the 178, maybe like 10 miles, within 10 miles of La Jolla, a bunch of tuna breezing and foaming around out there. A lot of the fleet of sport boats, but they were dipping up and down a lot. They would pop up, and Shane liked to fish a lot with the surface iron.
Yeah.
Run and gun on the surface iron.
I love that kind of fish.
Yeah, it is. It's real, but it's also hero zero,
Totally.
It's very intense, too. You only get that one shot.
Totally.
No, it is also, especially when they're all foaming out there, you're rolling up to them. Because he would be driving, then I would be, crouched down on the front, on the bow with my jig stick ready to go. I had surface iron, the Tatty 45, the mint colored one, mint and white. And all afternoon after the barracuda and the mackerel, we were chasing down foamers, and they'd always be dipping down until finally they kept getting closer to La Jolla until finally they were probably only like 3 or 4 miles off of the point in La Jolla. And it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so they were coming up a little bit more because there wasn't as much boat pressure around. And I think that they come up in the afternoon. That was also when I hooked those big ones on the sport boat. That 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming out for dinner and things have kind of quieted down for the day. And we come in a spot where they're foaming, and I cast and hook in the one there. And that was a 65-pounder.
Now you're making money too, right?
And then got to sell that down and making money off of it. And that was really, really good experience with the commercial fishing. That was in 2021. And then 2022, I had experienced all that stuff, and I was kind of hopping back and forth. But my big one was getting the bluefin on the solo skiff. And I had been fishing on the boat. I got them on the sport boats, and I was getting them on the skiffs, on the private boats.
So you're learning.
I'm learning, exactly. And then in 2022, it was big in the Mad Max. And it started off down there in Ensenada. A lot of the Ponga fleet was getting them on the Mad Max. Then that transferred up here into Southern California. And then I started, I worked as a deckhand on a 6-pack boat, Nomad Sport Fishing out of Seaforth with Captain Mike Soar. And I worked as a deckhand on that towards the tail end of the season. We got on an unbelievable trip to San Clemente Island where we were flying the kite. We got one early in the morning on the Mad Max Troll, flying the kite, and then all of a sudden night came around, and we just got on a night bite on the private boat, on the 6-pack boat. And that was when I seen the biggest 289.
That's a nice one.
On the knife jig, the coming over the rail.
Oh my God.
So that was an experience. And then after that, my buddy, and I think you know him too, JR, up in Morro Bay, San Luis Obispo area.
Yeah.
So the year before in 2021, because people were telling me.
Hey, JR.
Shout out to JR. That's right. In 20, they were telling me that you need to get your drone pilot's license, FAA 107, if you're getting paying off YouTube and use drone shots.
Oh, really?
So I had gone up to Morro Bay. I really like Morro Bay, Central Coast of California, but I always was rock fishing up there.
Yeah.
And I had always done a
great
tournament.
rock fishing.
What's great about the rock fishing up there is it's shallower water.
Yes.
60, 70 feet.
Yeah,
you
it's
can be
so
catching
bitchin'.
big
Lings.
exactly. And cabezon up there.
100%.
Kelp greenling. You know, I had caught those fish down, blue and black rock fish. And shallower water is great. And then
because they actually,
up there.
They fight, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Those lingcod especially.
Oh, yeah.
And especially the best of the hitchhiker lingcod.
Oh, yeah, heck yeah. Exactly. Explain that to everybody. What's a hitchhiker?
So the lingcod will chase after other fish. So
very aggressive.
Yeah, you'll be bringing up a fish, and all of a sudden it will get heavier, or it's just real heavy, and you come on, and the lingcod's got a big old mouth, and it's latched on. You got
the hooked fish.
Hooked fish that you have,
Right.
And if you're lucky enough, it will stay on there, and you can get both the fish.
Get a gap in it.
Get a gap or get both the fish.
Exactly.
So I gone up there to fly my drone. I actually caught a nice halibut there and some big red rockfish, lingcod. And I was coming back into the landing. And earlier that morning, I'd seen bluefin tuna heads on the fish cleaning statue of Morro Bay. Well, what did somebody bring these up from San Diego?
Yeah, what's going
on here? But I saw some of these big boats launching out also. And offshore boats, not just in rockfish style boats.
Right.
So when I get back and I'm pulling in the docks, oh, hey, Mikey, we were just watching your videos. People were recognizing me there at the dock. And one of them was JR.
Oh, shoot.
And JR took me over to his boat, was telling me how much he liked my videos. He's watching my videos, and then told me that they have bluefin up there. And told me that a guy had gotten one on the Cedar Plug, I think, that day. So he showed me the general area that they were at.
How far offshore was it?
That was only within 10 miles.
Perfect for the solo
Perfect for the but it was further north than Morro Bay.
Okay.
But the solo skiff I'm not locked into a boat ramp.
Well,
I
that's
can launch it
true.
from the beach.
That's right.
And that's what's opened up so much more opportunity is I can go to the kayak where I used to do the kayak fishing tournament.
Yeah.
That has a beach launch for kayaks that you can't launch a big boat.
Yeah.
And then I'm right there at the spot.
Straight out.
So that's what I did the next day, and I'd never seen the tuna or never anything like that. But a guy on the shore said, "Oh yeah, somebody yesterday caught one off the rubber ducky." I think he was talking about the Zodiac or something like that. He's called rubber ducky. Had caught one, so I knew that they were there. So a year passes. That was in 2021. So 2022, after I get done on the Nomad trip, JR calls me. I had first gotten a text from my friend up in Santa Cruz, and he had a nice bluefin. And then JR sent me a photo of him with the bluefin up in Morro Bay. And then he said, "You need to come up here. The bluefin are with
Get your butt up here."
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared, ready to go. After all this traveling and everything like that, I'm ready to go. Load up the solo skiff, all my gear. I got my bright, because what I did in 2021 to save up for my bluefin tuna setup, I went up to Bristol Bay, Alaska.
Oh, shoot.
And worked commercial salmon fishing on
Very
a set
cool.
net up
Very
there.
cool.
And got to experience, and then did cold smoked salmon up there and got to see that lifestyle of the natives and the sockeye commercial salmon fishing.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. And then I was able to get myself an Avid EX 30 wide setup. And then I have that on a Seeker roller rod, 130-pound main line on it, with a 100-pound leader. And then JR, I loaded that in the truck with my pink 200 Mad Mac because I had been catching them off of Freedom Boat Club, my buddy Nom, on the pink Mad Max.
Yeah.
And JR put me up in his house at
Oh,
night.
nice.
Wife made dinner for me,
Wow.
you know. And we were in his garage. He was showing me all of his gear, all of his setups,
How
and telling me all the
nice.
story. Yeah, life is so beautiful like that. It's
Yeah,
those
it is.
experiences.
Totally.
And then the next morning gave me coffee and everything like that. And then we're standing at the back of my truck, and he's saying a prayer for me. You know?
Wow.
And it's just really special moments
Sure,
like that. So
sure.
I go to the spot to Cambria, Leffingwell Landing, north end of Moonstone Beach. Get my whole soul, and I'm documenting it all. You know, I'm there in the dark and got my GoPro, getting all set up on the beach, and the beach launch out off of Cambria. Called some people on the radio, seeing if anybody's out there fishing. Didn't really get a response back because I was just the only one out there. Went to the zone that JR. There's a ledge that goes from 300 down to 600 feet out there. So it's shallow water, you know, for bluefin.
Yeah, definitely.
And I started trolling the Mad Max, that pink 200 one, and I had gotten.
And you're going how fast?
As fast as I can go on the solo
Right.
skiff, which is between 12 to 15, kind of what the current is doing.
Yeah, okay.
And I had it on a rod holder coming off the front, angled back. Usually, always on the starboard side is like how I like to fight my fish in the solo skiff. So I'm trolling it. I get some kelp caught on it, and I bring it in, clear the kelp off. Then as I'm letting it out, I got my thumb on the spool, and I'm letting the Mad Mac out.
Freaking got bit?
Whoom, whoom. Well, I'm like, no freaking way. I set that thing into gear and just, I got it wedged here on my leg. Just, I'm all compact. Because that's the thing, you got to keep it compact on the solo skiff and make sure you don't get over the sides because it's too tippy, you know?
Yeah, right.
But I was confident in my setup, you know, because I had caught them before.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to keep the skiff in gear and keep it moving forward. That's how I've landed them on the Mad Max before, is to keep the boat moving forward and not put it in neutral.
Right.
Until the last second.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going to gaff
Gaff
them.
it. Right.
So I kept the boat moving through, and I'm just kind of winching it. And when you get those fish, their heads turn and you got the boat moving, they don't get a chance to take runs and fight and stuff like that too.
Right.
So I got them up on the side, but that's where the fun really began.
Oh, yeah.
So I had...
How big is this fish?
It came in at 72 pounds.
Wow.
So I had my wooden gaff, longer one. I had a shorter metal gaff. I had a game clip. I had a tuna spike. and I had a bat.
Now you're all set.
Those were my tools. Yeah, no, you got to be prepared going in.
Oh, man.
So
going into battle.
Those are my tools that I was going to use. Because I've seen the guys in Hawaii, they're allowed to, they can use the straight one, but a lot of times they'll hit them with the straight one, hit them with the gaff like that to wedge the head, and then clip them off, bat them off, and pull them in. So I got him up on the side, and I hit him with got a good gaff shot in him with the wooden gaff. Then I had put the...
Is he ripping up?
No, he was just kind of stunned at that point. Yeah, he was...
Pretty docile.
Yeah, pretty docile. Then I put the metal gaff in him. But now I got both my my hands are full, and I'm trying to get the clip to clip them off. And I let go of the metal gaff, and it falls out and into the water, and I lose the metal gaff. But I still got the wooden gaff in them, and I'm going for the clip. And I start to hear that wooden gaff start to crack. And the clip and finally I get him clipped off, but I can't pull him up. He's too heavy and he's tipping the skiff too much to the side.
Yeah.
So finally I just reach down with two hands into his gills and then just counterbalance and just pull him into my lap and let out the biggest scream and start pretty much crying. And I had worked hard because it started in 2020 when I was talking about tuna 2020.
Sure.
And then I always thought I was going to get that in San Diego. That I was going to come.
But you caught it up there.
Up there,
north of Morro Bay.
Yeah, north of Morro Bay. It was pretty. I could see in the distance on the top of the mountain was Hearst Castle.
Oh yeah.
And so it was up there by it's a special place, and all the people that helped me get that fish, because I couldn't have done that on my own. And all those people that helped me. That
theme runs through everything you talk about, gratitude. And 100%. You cannot be miserable or unhappy if you have gratitude. Because I've known people who have all the money in the world and they want a bigger house and they're miserable, and they want a better car and they're miserable. And then I've met people in Mexico or other places that don't have anything, but they're grateful because they got a good family and good kids, and they got enough to eat.
And they have a life that they're happy with.
And they're happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's gratitude. Because they're
happy with what they got.
It's gratitude. Yeah. That's so beautiful. Gratitude.
I'm glad that you're really picking up on that. And
100%. Because I try to live my life that way also.
And it does wonders for you, but it's really hard unless you experience it. It's hard to fully understand what type of wonders it can work.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, gratitude is a huge. So
I can hear it.
So thankful for that experience. That was at the end of 2022. I was like, last year, and then this last year was just. Or then at the end of 2022 also is when then I picked up back onto Baja.
Oh, okay.
So 2021, I got a trip down to Bay of LA for the first time. I also went to Aubrey Ojos and Bay of LA with Squig from who owns Fishworks Clothing.
Yes.
So he has a house in Aubrey Ojos, and then we fished and surfed there, and then went over to Bay of LA. And Bay of LA was the first time where the place lived up to all the hype that I heard about.
Yeah.
Because we went, it was hot. It was in July when we went there.
It's miserable, but
that's when the fishing is the best, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we went out there and we were first making bait. And I had been to Hawaii before, kayak fishing in Hawaii, and I got broke off by a big bonefish. I never caught bonefish before.
Yeah.
If you can catch a bonefish on the Sabiki in Bay of LA, while we're making bait and mackerel. So we take the time to make mackerel there at Bay of LA, load up on mackerel. Then we go start in our first drift on the rocky outcroppings. We're going to reset, bring him in, boom, hook it on the yo-yo iron. I was fishing the blue and white. Squig was fishing the scrambled egg. Hook the first yellowtail on that one, and it was just nonstop on the yo-yo iron. We probably caught a dozen yellowtail on the yo-yo iron.
How cool is that?
It's like exactly.
You're in paradise.
The scenery and just all and that's what's so beautiful about fishing is all these different places that you get to go to.
I agree 100%.
So that's seeing that backdrop. I was like, I got to use some of my bait. Some of these baits that we took. So I started putting those down the dropper loop, catching bigger yellowtail, some cabria and some grouper and different types, sheep's head, different types of fish. So that was cool that Bay of LA just lived up to all the hype.
Yeah.
Then I had a good friend, mine, college roommate, and his dad has been going Baja forever and always had stories about he's got a 54-foot Californian boat and then a 19-foot Grady White. And he tows the Grady White around to Baja and uses the other boat as a mothership.
Oh, how cool.
Oh, yeah, and he's got all the experience, the ultimate setup.
Yeah.
Well, once he found out how much I'm into fishing and how much I love fishing, and his son is tied up with his family and doesn't fish.
Oh, he adopted you.
Adopted fishing son. So boom,
Hey,
we're gonna
tell him I'm available to be adopted too. Not a problem.
Yeah, Lou Gatto. Shout out to Lou Gatto.
Lou Gatto, you're the man.
He is the man.
I
So
want to go fishing with Lou.
He took me to the boat in Loretto for the first time in November of 2022. Caught my first rooster fish.
Oh, cool.
Down there with him. That was cool. Some Sierra. We got some Dorado, some yellowtail. We were getting that. Then we went on that trip in November. Then went back in March, back to Loretto also, and April. And then that's when we took the mothership and the other boat out to the island and got to use that for the first time. Caught a big old leopard grouper. That was awesome, catching the leopard grouper off of that.
So beautiful, aren't they?
Such a beautiful fish.
It
That's
really
what
is.
the Sea of Cortez, just the diversity and the beauty of that place and
Such
the
a
fish
magnificent
and the
place.
people too.
Yes.
And that's where the people were seeing me down there at the docks, and that I was going down there at the same time. Then in early 2023, I ran into Shane again that I was commercial fishing before.
Yeah.
So he said, hey, I got my receiver's license. I can buy fish. And he knew that I liked fishing off the solo skiff. Why don't you get your commercial license for the solo skiff, and I'll buy fish off you. So
That is great.
I went for it. I tried
for you,
commercial
Mikey.
fishing on the solo skiff.
Frickin' A.
But it was, because it's hard work, and then you got to keep those fish fresh and
Yes.
clean them and everything.
Right.
So it didn't end up working out.
Right, I get
the
that. You
commercial
can't
fish.
carry enough fish. Probably
Yeah,
to make it
exactly.
worthwhile.
So it didn't end up
But you
working.
tried it.
I tried it and got that. I went for it, and I'm very thankful because
Heck
Shane,
yeah.
it got to that experience.
Right.
So shout out to Shane.
Shane.
Yeah. Shane Seafood in San Diego. Check him out.
Shane Seafood in San Diego.
Yeah, Saturdays in Tuna Harbor Dockside
Man, I'll have to go
Market.
say hi to him someday.
Yeah.
On my way to
He's got a
Mexico.
good thing going on.
Yeah,
down
good
there
for him.
sure. And so I ran into him, and then I was, you know what? I'm a little burnt out on San Diego stuff. I want to go back down to Baja. So I loaded the solo skiff up, and I'm driving. I was going to go to the Gonzaga Bay, just get a little break and mix it up. And I know
You go through Mexicali when you do
I
that?
always like to go through Mexicali.
Much easier drive, right?
Much easier drive. So it's 2 hours to get from San Diego to Mexicali, the border crossing. As I'm driving on that road, parallels the border, and I got my big old SD Fish and Sip sticker on the back of my truck.
Yeah.
Troll hard on the side. I see this truck driving by. Oh, hey, what's up, Mikey? And they had watched my videos.
That's bitching.
The night before, I had gone to Baja in 2021 in October, actually down to Mag Bay.
Yeah.
And brought the solo skiff with my friend Bill. And when we went through Gonzaga Bay, I heard about the Golden Reef because the guy was talking about catching white sea bass on the yo-yo iron at the Golden Reef. But I learned that the Golden Reef is 22 miles also from. So that's kind of the solo skiff goes 12, 15. So that 20 to 30 mile range is doable, but that's the kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
Because it's a couple hour ride and the conditions. It's always about
The
safety
wind.
is number one
Yes.
and wind, and swell, but mostly the wind. So I want to make sure. But the forecast going into the trip, it looked like it was going to be glass.
Oh, yeah.
I have a shot for the Golden Reef.
Cool.
So I was looking and researching the Golden Reef, and I read this story about this guy, Captain Juan Cook.
Oh, I know that guy.
You do know
Yeah,
him.
I do.
So he took a guy out that has the record Gulf grouper.
Yeah.
There, 130-pound Gulf grouper.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, the guys that on the truck that flagged me down, they stop at the same gas station as me, and we're talking.
In Mexico now?
Now this is at the Arco on the U.S. side.
Okay.
Right before we're about to cross in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, what's up, Mikey? We love your videos, this or that. We're going to fish with Juan Cook at the Golden Reef tomorrow.
Wow.
We can be your support boat. give us a call on the radio. We'll be on Channel 9 on the radio.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't make this
all
stuff
stars
up.
are colliding.
Yeah.
That's
So next thing I load, I'm there at the beach in Gonzaga Bay because you don't get cell service. I get a call on the radio. Hey, Mikey, we're going to the Golden Reef. Now's your shot. We'll be out there. All right. Boom. I fire up the motor, take my hour and a half, 2 hour trek out there to the Golden Reef. And there Juan Cook on his Parker, fishing XS on his Parker pilot house out there fishing. They had already gotten some yellowtail on the, he was doing a lot of slow pitch jigging out there. I just had my candy bar yo-yo. I was just doing old school yo-yo iron fishing. Yeah, hooked on a nice yellowtail on the yo-yo iron. Yeah, landed that, went by and showed it off. I also caught a frog fish, which I'd never seen before. It's an alien-looking fish down there.
Maybe if I saw it, I'd know, but I don't know it by that name.
Yeah, it has little fins on the bottom of it. Crazy-looking fish. I caught the frog fish, eel, the yellowtail, a bunch of cabria. They took us out to this deep water spot where these guys were long-lining these crazy fish out there.
Baquetas or something like that?
Yeah, no, they were like a hack.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I can't remember the different names of crazy deep sea fish.
That's why it's so cool. You see all these different species,
and
right?
the different people. I saw these commercial guys out there fishing. Yeah. And then I also learned and read about Juan Cook and what he's got going on with Baja.
Yeah.
And just he's a living legend of Baja, and he takes that Parker pilot house and he goes all over. He's in Gonzaga Bay in the springtime.
Right.
Then he's in when in May I was back in Loretto with Lou for the Yellowtail tournament.
Yeah.
And I get a message from Juan. He goes, "Hey Mikey, these are the areas I'm going to be in Baja. I'm going to be in Bay of LA, then I'll be in San Quintin, then I'll be in La Bocana,
right. He fishes there,
and then I'll be in Mag Bay."
Yeah.
And I knew about my dream fish last year was a wahoo. I had dreams of catching a wahoo, and I was going down to the sport fishing landings, whenever the big boats were coming in. Because the same thing with like how I learned the bluefin tuna. I went down, because another good one, when I was fishing on the sport boats, I'm in Ocean Beach, a couple minutes away from the landings.
Yeah.
So every Sunday, I'll go down there, go look for the biggest bluefin, then interview the angler.
Nice.
What boat were you on? How long was the trip? How'd you catch it? What gear were you using?
Yeah.
Now these people that are traveling from Northern California or outside areas, they don't just see a count on the list. They can see the fish themselves, and they can hear the stories behind it. And I started doing those weekly also. Every Sunday night, I was doing a sport fishing report video, and I was getting good feedback from the people. And that's how I was doing it, mostly to learn how to fish the bluefin. And then I was just sharing that with everybody else too, to help them learn too. And that really helped me. So I did the same thing with the wahoo last year, where I was really asking about, and then I learned that Mag Bay in November is prime time of the year for wahoo. That's going to be probably my bet. But those sport boats, that's like a 10-day trip. You got to drive down, and it's expensive. I don't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
But I do have the resources and the network. So when Juan Cook tells me he's going to be in Mag Bay in November, boom, all the pieces of the dream and the puzzle are coming together.
Yeah.
So then when November, and then I got the boat down there. I've been going to Loretto with Lou in the boat. So I got my key access to get into the docks. I know logistics, getting my facing with some of the local captains down there, establishing my network, so that when November comes along, hey Lou, I want to go down and get myself a wahoo. Mag Bay's calling me.
Come on down.
Go on down. You can use the boat.
Wow.
I loaded the solo skiff in the back of my truck, drove from San Diego, stopped in Gonzaga Bay, fished Gonzaga Bay. Then I did that drive from Gonzaga Bay to Loretto. Stayed in Loretto. I had the mothership there to stay off of.
Wow.
And then the solo skiff and all these. So I fished with the guys up there in Oregon for the king salmon, right? And all the guys there. The sport boats in San Diego have seen me at the offshore spots down there. Everyone's seen me around San Diego.
You're freaking everywhere.
Now these guys are seeing me down in Baja. And,
wow.
But what they see, when they see my dedication and how much I love it, they want to just help out.
Sure.
So then when the Pongas see me out there just grinding the yo-yo ire with the fleet on the solo skiff, then when I get back to the docks, hey, they're going to give me some pointers and some tips and some help. And they helped me out, so I was able to be successful catching yellowtail. And then I got my first dorado off the solo skiff down there in Baja, trolling. Pink and blue feather was killing it down there in Loreto on the solo skiff. And then I hit up I saw a good weather window, and I hit up Juan Cook. And he said, yep, I'm free. I don't have any charters. So, but the spot's 42 miles offshore. So I had to get down into Baja. Mag Bay is about 750 miles. You got to get down there. Then you got to get 42 miles offshore.
Yeah.
And the entries to get to the open ocean there aren't like San Diego. Those bocas are next level.
Yeah, I know.
With surf breaks going through them.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is brutal. So just to get that opportunity in the window to have weather-wise and swell-wise to get it, because Juan originally said, hey, I think you get a lot of good footage of fishing the mangroves for Pargo and grouper, which I've heard nothing but good stuff about, fishing those live shrimp down there for mangrove, those fish. But I was set on the wahoo. Yeah. And I knew that, so he said, take a look at the weather. I knew the weather was going to be good. And then come over here. So it was only a 2-hour drive to get to Loreto, over to Mag Bay.
Yeah, it's not far at all.
Yeah, but I brought the solo skiff so that I could fish the mangroves the first day and get over there, and got all the locals fishing the docks there, and my Spanish is getting better, but I only speak a little bit, so I'm talking with them and telling them that I want to get a wahoo as I'm getting in contact with Juan, because he's staying at a place close by. Guy throws his cast net, catches some live bait for me, and they were telling me what areas to go. And
cool.
They're all taking photos of the solo skiff and all soaked on seeing the solo skiff because they'd never seen it before.
It's a novelty, yeah.
But just making that connection with the people there, and just such beautiful, nice people everywhere I go. And then stayed at the little hotel right there, Familia Shrimp Hotel or something like that. And then we went out the next day. When I got back, Juan said, let's see if people are getting wahoo today, and then gauge what we're going to do tomorrow. And then when I got back to the hotel, he was loading up all the wahoo gear, and I said, all right, it's showtime. This is what I've been dreaming of.
Yeah, and another dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Another dream, and it just all came together. And woke up that morning, really dark, early morning, got down there, and it's just me and Juan. This is really, really special. So I got to help, back the boat into the water as he's launching in the new launch area in the dark, all that stuff. But all that skill set, stuff that I've worked on to become better person and live a life through healthy habits and living, that all comes into play when I'm trying to go through these experiences and make this stuff come true. Is having those skill set and knowing that you can rely on yourself. You got to be able to get up early and make all this stuff happen.
100%.
And so we launched out of the Boca, and that was the craziest. I don't know how he knows how to navigate that stuff.
Friggin' crazy,
It was crazy, hairy, but it's so beautiful. The sunrise coming up. They had the big shrimp boats coming through with all the birds and
those combers coming in, and
just absolutely gorgeous. And then it was an hour ride. A couple-hour ride to get out to the zone, to the
40 miles. You said?
Yeah, it was 42 miles to get out to the spot. We didn't go to the Thetis. We went to 23 out there. It's all on that ridge that goes from Abreojos all the way down to Mag Bay. Right. And then the fish are on that ridge. And we saw another boat out there. Eckhart was trolling. I can't remember his first name. Bill, maybe. He trolls a lot and then. So I knew that there was, we were in a good area. Zone. Yeah, and of course I'm with Juan. He's gonna put me in the right zone. Right. We had 4 Nomad DTX minnows, the 220, the big ones, the 50-foot divers with wire leader on them, and we were just trolling that high spot. It's only 100. It's 23 fathoms out there, so it's not deep. And this 42 miles offshore, it's not that deep. Right. But we were just trolling back and forth on that high spot, and we saw another boat. Hook and land a wahoo, and then at about 10 o'clock in the morning, first one goes off. hook up. Yeah, I always like to yell out, hook up. And then I just started cranking. But it's kind of the same thing with the bluefin. When you hook them on the troll and you got to keep that boat moving forward and you're on the big heavy gear, it's a matter of just turn that handle, Randall. Just keep turning the handle, you know, and keep it going. And then I remember getting it up on the side at color, and I knew that it was a good sized fish. And Juan hit the gaff on him, and then I got the second gaff, and we got that, and that was a 60-pounder.
That's a nice hoo.
Yeah,
beautiful skin, right?
And the colors, the striping on that fish, everything
purple, glowing, fluorescent.
Oh man, and the head is just the most badass fish in the ocean.
Totally.
And the best eating.
Oh my
God. The wahoo is just to die for eating wise.
That is for sure.
But Juan's the same thing with me, like I was talking about with when I caught those 2 bluefin on the sport boat. When you're in that zone and you're there, get your lures back in the water. So Juan did a good job because I'm all fired up. I'm on cloud nine. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, and he's like, calm down, kid. This isn't his first rodeo. Let's get this thing situated. Well, he got all the good photos. He knows how to take some really good photos.
Yeah, he does.
Let's get the lures back in the water. So get the lures back in the water. End up catching 2 more wahoo.
Wow.
Both those were like 40 to 50 pounders.
Beautiful grade.
Then we get done about like noon or so, 1 o'clock. And I go, hey, can we do some tuna fishing on the way in? Because he was talking about tuna fishing on the way in. Yeah, sure, we can stop and do some. Throw out 2 halfway in. Throw out 2 X-Wrap Rapalas. Start trolling those. Hook up, double hook up. Start getting double hookups on the way in on yellowfin, 20 to 30 pound grade yellowfin. Ended up that trip with 3 wahoo and 6 yellowfin.
How can you beat an experience like that?
It's hard to.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
I mean, my mind is still blown.
Mikey.
And just that the emotion of all of that too, and then getting to share it with others
on your YouTube
too.
channel. And what are you also active in other social media?
Yeah, I got Instagram, all one word, SD Fish and Sips, and Mikey Riovic is my Facebook, but my main focus is YouTube.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's gone for me. I didn't plan it that way, but it's like too much if you can't put 100% in each and every one of those, so you got to pick one.
Exactly.
At least that's been my experience so far.
So I'm trying to do more shorts, on Instagram and use that for connections and for network, because that's what I've been enjoying, all these different people and collaborations with it. That's why I'm so thankful for you having me. Because, collaborating with people and expanding my network.
Can I tell you something? This is just the beginning of you and I working. That's the way I feel.
100%.
I can't wait to go on a Baja run with you. I can do the surf fishing. You go out on the solo. Man, all kinds of great stuff.
Well, I leave on Tuesday for Baja.
Really?
Yeah.
Coming Tuesday?
This coming up
Where
Tuesday.
Are you going?
I'm gonna. Lou gave me the call, so he's got to move the boats, leaving Baja, the mothership, and the Grady White, both of those.
So you're going to drive one?
We're moving the boat, the Odyssey, the big boat, from Loretto to La Paz.
Oh, okay. Not too big of a run.
Not too big of a run for this go around.
Yeah.
Then we'll go back in a month to trailer back the Grady White and the King Ranch truck.
Yeah.
But drop off and still have a vehicle down there at Marina Puerto Escondido Harbor. So not leave everything, still have that thing there, and then bring the big boat back up to and have it here for the summertime.
You should every night look up to the skies and say a prayer that Lou's son never likes to fish.
Well, that's also the next level of things too, is taking people out. Like, that's why it'd be great to have you come along. Not a lot of these adventures I've had on my own. Yeah. And I like doing stuff on my own, but it's also nice to share it with people.
It is.
So trying to take some other people on the adventures is a goal of mine this year, to start to share the love even more.
Sure.
Hopefully have some get some community events organized and stuff like that. But I'm a one-man show just like you. I'm a one-man show.
I had long hair when I started this thing, man.
Because the number one thing is those fishing adventures. Everything generates off of those fishing adventures, and that's been and then making the videos as a result of that to keep up with my YouTube documentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I just took that trip up to Northern California.
Yeah, you just went up there and were
Crabbing. I went
Dungeness crabs,
yeah,
right?
I went from limits of lobsters around the rain here in San Diego. During those record rains, I just killed it on the lobsters
You did?
here. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
really
Inside
good.
the bay, or
Yeah, inside the bay. They really because the commercial guys get to the outside of the bays, so a lot of times that's been picked through with all the keepers.
Yeah.
So that's why the inside of the bays are better, and then usually the lobsters like to crawl around the rains.
Yes, absolutely.
So the
100%.
rains help stuff out. So I took advantage of that during those rains, and I was able to get lobsters, and then I brought those up for Super Bowl party.
Oh, nice! You were a very popular guy.
Oh, and then I brought wahoo and yellowfin tuna from Baja, and I made ceviche and poke.
That's
Because
great.
that wahoo, I think that's my favorite for sushi fish. is,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The wahoo.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat.
And then you went north, and
So I got in and hung out with my family there in the East Bay area for Super Bowl Sunday. Then I went on Monday out of San Francisco Bay, Sausalito, because JR has a sailboat at the slip at Sausalito right there. And he said, hey, the herring are spawning out there, and you can catch them with the cast net, and you can fish for halibut in the bay. There's some good halibut fishing there. So I went out there, and it's a learning lesson. It's going to be a learning process, because watching me try to throw that, I don't know if anybody saw I put it out on my YouTube video, but I only had a 3-foot cast net. But trying to throw that cast net, I'm not very skilled because I haven't practiced.
It takes a while.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like anything, it's practice.
It's a process.
You got to have the right equipment. I think a 6 to 8 foot instead of a 3 foot might make it a little bit easier.
Yes.
And then, just doing it repetitive. So I practiced for the herring. I didn't get any herring, but practiced throwing the cast net. And then was fishing the bounce ball rig. Because that's what I'm really trying to dial in is bounce ball halibut. And for halibut here in California and California halibut, but my next dream fish is Pacific halibut.
Oh, very cool. Very
so
cool.
I originally I thought I was going to have to go Oregon, Washington, Alaska. Now I'm finding out there's Pacific halibut in California.
I didn't know that. Where?
Up in northern, like Mendocino coast,
from
San Francisco.
I have heard that.
Even I think starting in Bodega Bay. So that's after I fished the bays for herring and halibut. Then I went up to Tamales Bay State Park, which is like an hour and a half north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
You go through Petaluma. It's like farm country. They got dairy cows on the sides.
Right.
And then you drop into just picturesque, pure beauty of a state park, and they had a little landing there that I was able to launch the solo skiff out of. Brought my hoop nets that I use down here for the lobsters and my mackerel and my bonito scraps, and I went out there and got myself 7 Dungeness crabs, and those are tasty. I mean, you know how good
they are. So good,
so good.
Man, I'm
then got myself a dozen or so of the rock crabs, good tasty claws on the rock crabs.
Right.
And then I think my favorite part was Captain John and Dennis at the end that were in the parking lot, the old timers that have been fishing there forever.
Yeah.
Because Captain John, he's made a living by putting chains on people's cars up at Donner Summit Pass.
Oh, wow.
During all the big snowstorms.
Sure.
Yeah. He has his own business doing chains.
That's great, man.
And then fishes all the mountain lakes and fishes that area down in Tamales Bay. So they gave me a little tutorial on how to clean the crabs, help me out clean it. Then he's doing surf and turf at the landing. I get out of the water. He's got all the Dungeness crab all cooked up, ready to go for me. Then he opens up his stovetop.
You got a filet mignon in there?
Lamb chops.
Ooh, even better.
Dungeness crab and lamb chops.
Sign me up, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So just good people. And that was just last week.
Wow.
So I got, and then that was Tuesday, got loaded up on Dungeness crab. Wednesday, I drove from Bay Area to stayed at JR's spot because JR wants to help me out with the halibut.
Oh, cool.
And so stayed with him, got to hang out in his garage, and then he saw how screwed up I was with my halibut setup. So he got me going in the right direction with the correct bounce ball weights because I lost my original bounce ball weight and I was using torpedo sinkers and getting it tangled. Got me a better size Dodger flasher and a hoochie and stuff like that. So I want to now try to bring that to San Diego and start for halibut off of Mission Beach and Pacific Beach, even up into La Jolla.
Why not?
Maybe down to Imperial Beach, because so far it's been a lot of just the bay halibut for me. But I fished the next day in Port San Luis Obispo out there. And that's what the opportunities in so many areas in California, and that's why I love the solo skip, because it's endless opportunities. And then down into Baja too, and then even up into the Pacific Northwest and all of this spots. So there's really endless opportunities
for sure.
And I went out there and I was able to get my bounce ball rig down 120 feet of water, and I was trolling it, along the sandy bottoms on the outside of those structures. I didn't get any bites, but I did when I'm launching out in the morning time. I'm walking to the skiff, and it's there on the beach by itself, and there's an old guy walking up. He goes, "Hey, it looks like somebody's boat washed in." I go, "No, that's my boat. That's the solo skiff right there." And he walks up, and he's looking at it, and I just start, right? Because anytime that people are interested, and I start running my mouth with telling stories, because I'm unlike you, I'm a storyteller. I like telling stories. I just start going. So I'm telling him about catching the bluefin on the solo skiff, going down to Baja, catching yellowtail, this or that. And he just, "Man, you're so interesting. You've had the coolest experience." He goes, "Today's my 80th birthday." And I said, "Happy birthday." And that means so much coming from a person with 80 years old. With that many, you met so many people and had so many experiences. And for you to say how interested you are and how cool of experiences I've had 100%. Is just really awesome. So all these reinforcements that I get along the way to know that I'm on the right path and
Absolutely.
I'm doing the right thing. And that was really the cool moment of that day. That was on Wednesday. Or Thursday that I fished. Then I battled it back in the traffic because I left at noon, and I didn't get back into San Diego till 9:30.
Yeah.
Took a little break.
Long day.
Then I was regrouping after the trip, and then JR said, "Hey, you go to the Bart Hall show."
Oh,
Check
there
out
you
the
go.
Bart Hall
I was
show.
there too. What day were you there?
That was Friday at like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Darn, well, we'll hook up in the future from now on. I was there Saturday.
Okay, yeah. So I was cruising through the Fred Hall show, and that's where I saw Captain Bill. He was about to go on his Colonet trip. He was there. Ran into him. Ran into a bunch of the other friends, and then got to see. I ran into, there was a little kid there, and his dad. "Hey, Mikey, can we get a photo with you?" But what I get so stoked on, because everybody knows what I'm doing too.
Yeah.
I like to hear other people's stories.
Me too.
And so I was asking him, "Oh, where do you fish off of?" That's usually what I'll ask people, "How do you fish? Where are you at?" So they were they're talking about catching halibut from the shore up in Carlsbad.
Yeah.
On Lucky Craft lures and stuff.
Love
no, he said the crocodile with the red striped
100%.
crocodile.
I use that a lot.
Is that what you like? What size
that.
crocodile
Like
do
a
you
3/4 ounce.
3/4 ounce?
Yeah, normally that works
and
fine.
all silver, or do you like any of the pattern?
It doesn't seem to matter. I've cut them on the all silver. I've cut them with the mackerel pattern, the red stripe. I think it's just something flashes in front of me.
Yeah, and then you're trying to cast it out past the breakers, and then a slow retrieve.
You can vary that retrieve. Yeah. Like sometimes it's super slow, especially wintertime. It seems like fish are a little more lethargic. And then as you move into spring and summer, it's maybe a little quicker retrieve. But man, I'm telling you, Mikey, when you get bit on that friggin' iron, it might as well be a 40-pound yellow.
Right?
And it may be a little yellowfin croaker, but it is so much fun getting bit on the iron and the surf.
I know, and that's what I want to, the surf fishing is something that I plan on. Yeah, I would love to. So that I was out, I got back, I was at the Bart Hall show. That was Friday. So I went to the show. And then I know also with YouTube, people want to see this stuff right away.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Went to the show like 3 or 4 till about like 5 or 6. Then I have a friend in Encinitas. Lou's son Augie is up there, and his brother-in-law David, who helped me a lot with the trapping, loves seafood. So I brought some of the Dungeness crab.
Perfect.
And we're chowing down on Dungeness crab. Then I leave his spot, get home. edit and put out the video from the Bart Hall show.
Yep.
That same night.
That's so important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And get it out there, and it performed well, and I was happy with that. And so I put it out that night, then woke up the next morning and loaded all of my my gear up for the solo skiff, launched out of Mission Bay. I like to launch Ski Beach. It's just a little bit more mellow.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like my little special place. So launched out of Ski Beach there in the morning, doing my usual thing with my little intro to my video and going over all my stuff. And I brought my, I got a TLD 20 single speed lever drag on a Sabre Chaser rod. Kind of an older school setup, 65-pound moss green braid, 40-pound leader. I use an Albright knot when I tie that connection, and then jam knot I was trolling for a long time the Nomad DTX lure. But just recently, my friend Nom, who I fish with he's helped me out so much with, shout out Captain Nom, Freedom Boat Club.
Captain Nom.
Yeah, he fishes Freedom Boat Club a lot and helped me out with learning how to fish tuna on the private boats. And he has a pizza shop in Mission Beach that got flooded in January, and he had a box of tackle in there. And one of the lures that he had was a diving trolling lure made by Megabait. They don't even make the lure anymore.
Oh, that's the one you caught the yellow on, right, the other day?
That's what I'm getting at. So Mom had been fishing Freedom Boat Club with his cousin Lee. They were out there offshore, and his cousin Lee had a heart attack on the water.
Oh, my God.
Had to get airlifted off of the water, and then ended up passing away later on after.
I'm sorry
it was sad, but gave Nom that Megabait lure. And then Nom gave me that lure. And then I tied that on Saturday, went out to La Jolla, and when I got out, really dirty water out front Mission Beach. I wasn't sure on the water temp because my gauge is broken.
Yeah.
But I made my way up into La Jolla, and then I saw the new Seafort doing a lap down. A lot of times they'll just circle through the whole area looking for yellows or trying to create some stuff. So they were doing their rounds. A lot of the fleets of boats were up towards the northwest corner. I was just getting in past the South Reserve line. And I threw out that trolling lure. I was going to look for bait, and I started trolling, and next thing I know, just and I hadn't hooked a La Jolla yellow. I caught one last year on the yo-yo iron in February.
Yeah.
But like I was saying before, I caught a lot on the fly line mackerel off the kayak, and then I had even caught a couple on the Nomad DTX minnow on the solo skiff on the troll before. But it's been years. And that thing started just screaming. It just, and then when I turned it in, and that thing just wouldn't stop. Just kept ripping line and ripping line. I was tightening the drag a little bit, but there's no kelp or structure around, so I knew I was pretty safe. But it was still taking a lot of line. Finally, the thing stopped, and I look around, and there's just fish blowing up.
I know,
all around me, splashing on the surface. My whole entire meter is just lit up top to bottom.
That is so
fish are everywhere. No other boats are out. I'm the only one. I was in the middle of this school. There's just fish all around me. I bring the fish to color, and I knew it was a big fish.
Yeah.
It was 32 pounds is what it came in.
Really?
The first one was
was
the bigger one.
Wow, that's big, great forky, man.
Yeah,
that's
it was
because
I gilled and gutted it on the water, and it was 29 and a half after I hung it when I got home. So that was the bigger one, and I gaffed it with my Varmac gaff. I got it into my lap, clipped it off, and its head is sitting like this with the gaff still in it and the tail down. And I got my GoPro like this, and I'm like, all right, I know there's still fish here. And like with Juan and with the tuna before, when you're there, get your lure back in the water. The fish are there. You don't always have that chance.
That's right.
I throw that lure back in the water. I start trolling again, and my GoPro's going on. I'm like, yes. Number 2 seconds later after putting that in number 2, and that was a 27-pounder.
That's a nice fish,
yeah,
too.
I know. Both of them were just big, solid fish.
Yeah, Daryl sent me that message, man, and I had been watching yellows down at Ensenada, and I said, on one of the morning briefings, you know, sometimes this stuff shows up in La Jolla, and then this angel sitting right here in front of me makes it a reality.
Oh, man. And yeah, they just blew it. So that was so... I'm just so grateful that happened, you know, just right place at the right time, because it's been years since I've seen it like that.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully it's a sign for good things to come.
I'm thinking it is.
Because I was focused. I'll be out there tomorrow. I'm going to be fishing
cool.
La
Let me know if you do it.
La Jolla tomorrow.
From now on, you and I are going to be in touch.
For sure.
Already.
Yeah.
I can see. I have a great deal of admiration for you already. You're an inspirational guy, and wow! I mean, what a story!
I know that was a little long and a lot to handle.
Yeah, I love long form podcast.
That's my story leading up to this point.
Yes,
and I got a lot more that I want to take care of in the future.
Yeah, definitely. You'll be able to find in our show description all the links to follow Mikey, because I tell you, there's more adventures in the future.
This is just the beginning, and more adventures with more people, more places, more fish, more good times.
Absolutely. Yeah. And why don't you just tell everybody, though, one more time where they can find you, and then we'll put it in the show description also.
We can find me on YouTube, SD Fish and Sips on YouTube, and then also find me for California Skiffs is my business, and californiaskiffs@gmail.com is contact me to get a solo skiff.
Perfect.
Instagram? SD Fish and Sips, all one word, is my handle on Instagram. Same thing, I'm doing a little bit on TikTok. Yep. You can find some fun videos on that. And then Mikey Riovic is my Facebook. But find me on YouTube and Instagram are going to be the two main ones, and then California Skiffs, reach out to me for a solo skiff.
Make sure you follow Mikey. I know I'm going to be, and I'm hoping, Mikey, that you and I work together in the very near future.
This is just the start of it, for sure.
I'm thinking so, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Phil.
It's really been a pleasure. Thanks for coming all the way up here. Thank you for an extraordinary podcast. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Yep, thank you.